Hi, welcome to Stat Sisters. My name is Carrie, and I talk each week with my sister Erin about all things nursing, with the occasional Harry Potter thrown in. We talk about the nursing topics that you care about. We also chat about nurses in the news, and most importantly, answer your questions. Good morning, Erin.
Hey, Carrie, how's it going?
It's going good. It's actually better than good because I am live in person.
Right next to me.
Yes.
Like touch you.
I know, but don't.
Too bad. Touch.
So a lot has gone on since we had another break.
Yes, you've had quite a bit going on. Like a big grocery shopping trip.
No.
Driving 2,500 miles.
Yes. I think it was only like a couple thousand. I don't want to claim more than it was, but it was a lot.
It's over 2.
Yeah, it's far. Very far. Particularly. Nope, can't use that word either. Especially with 3 children and 1 adult, right?
Yes. Not like you plus 1. There was no plus 1. It was Carrie's show.
Yeah. But that's okay. They were really good. They were good little travelers. So I am officially in Boise.
That's the news. Woo woo. That's why we had another little hiatus, but she's here to stay.
Yes. I was really overestimating my ability to multitask. I could not quit my job, move 2,000 miles, and podcast. It was impossible.
I'm not surprised. It's kind of a lot. I'm like, I think you could do about 2 of those at once. And considering, like you said, by yourself, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy
Which,
nutty.
it's not permanently by myself.
No.
I don't want to spread rumors or have
hold on.
Men, stop lining up. I'm still taken.
No, the other Halsey clan will be joining later.
Yes, my wonderful husband and 2 other children are still in Texas, holding down the fort, and they will join us
matriculating.
Later. Yes.
It's important stuff. Yeah,
It
matriculate.
is. They're both going to graduate high school this year, which is awesome. One's going to university in Texas, and one's going to join us and go to junior college here because she's only 16.
It's not awesome. They cannot be that old yet. I am having problems with this. Scary.
Everyone has problems with it. And
I know.
They tell me, oh my goodness, I can't believe that your kids are so old. Oh my goodness. And like how it means stuff to them. I'm like, yeah.
Right.
I get it.
Exactly. But you seem like chill about it where I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure they're like 6 and 7. No, not quite.
Nope. Yeah, they're old. Anyway, so how was your day? How was your week?
It's been busy. I had this fabulous family member come visit me.
Ooh, I missed him.
I know, right? It was right before you got here. No, for real. It's been great. The kids have loved seeing each other, and it's been fun. I don't think we're getting much sleep, but
no.
That's all right. We should be funnier because we're sleep deprived. We tend to do like really funny podcasts when we're tired.
But I think that's like after midnight. That's the threshold. Like, we are not doing that tonight.
So maybe we're just stuttering tonight. Hopefully not.
Okay.
No, my week's been good. It's been great having you here, and just in general, the kids are going to be starting soccer, so they're all excited about that. And we've got a month left of school, so we're looking at summer things. And Boise has finally decided to stop flooding and raining, so I actually got some yard work done. So no, it's good. It's a good time of year.
Yeah, I'm glad that Boise has decided to be spring because I left humid 80-degree weather, sunny, lovely, wonderful weather where my kids were swimming on Sunday. We left Monday. We drove to New Mexico in the morning. We drove through Colorado and Utah, and it was snowing.
Yes. Not, okay, like flurries.
Flurries, yes. But my children were in shorts. We were all in flip-flops and T-shirts.
And you're texting me at work, and you're like, Erin!
I'm like, why is it? I'm like, okay, well, it's just like the peaks. So I'm like, okay, it's the summits, whatever. Right. It's not sticking. Then I pull up to Ashton, Idaho, where one of my sisters lives. and the next morning it snows.
It
And the next
snows.
morning it snows, and I'm talking a couple inches.
Right.
And I was like, what the heck? We're freezing. We have no coats,
But what a great story.
no jeans.
How could you not have coats? It's May. No, it's April at that
We
point.
don't have coats.
Like, you don't even own coats?
We own like sweaters, like bulky sweater.
Well, that's going to change, sweetie.
Our jackets are light jackets. But anyway, it was an adventure. I got reintroduced to actual weather.
Right. Crash
Like,
course. And it makes for a
coolness.
great story. I mean,
It
really.
does. It was my son's birthday. He woke up, but there was snow. It was a miracle.
Right, because in Texas, snow on April 26th is not going to happen.
No, ever.
It's like a birthday miracle.
No.
We had a couple. How did we not? We had a couple birthday miracles.
That's
this
true.
Year. So he got his birthday snow miracle, and one of our cats went missing 3 weeks ago. My husband was a little excited, but the kids were all in like mourning, and we're forming like search parties every day after school, and we were hanging up flyers, and we were checking the shelter, and posting it everywhere. 3 weeks and a day, we find out. No, on 3 weeks, because we have children a day apart. We have a birthday one day and then a birthday the next day. So on Olivia's birthday at like 9:30 at night, we find out that somebody has found our cat, and she was ecstatic. I wished for that, Mom. And then the next day,
sweet.
Drew gets his birthday snow wish.
Yes.
We got some powerful
Yes.
minds.
Well, we're magical.
Apparently magical. We knew
Yes.
that. We were training them well.
Yes. Yes. So, yep, that happened. And then we've been having a lot of fun. And today was my first day at St. Mungo's here in Boise.
Woohoo, Boise Campus.
And I have to tell you, I had a great day.
You did. She came home all like grinning. And
Yeah.
what did Ashton say to you? Or was it
No,
Drew?
it was Andrew, who's like, good job not getting fired. They don't fire people the first day.
If you can't make it through the first day of general orientation,
It's really bad.
that's a sign. You need to reevaluate your priorities.
Yeah. Well, I have been through several new employee orientations, and I'm gonna say I really liked this one.
All right. Way to go, Boise.
Yeah. It's very concise, which I appreciate because I've had a range, and I've had like nothing. Like, okay, start
And go.
And I've had like a week and a half of
Oh my
like
goodness.
hospital orientation, which
Oh,
is so long.
that's torturous.
Yes. And you don't feel prepared because you have tuned out by day 3.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You're just like riding the wave.
Yeah.
Like showing up for the breakfast bar.
Yeah. Oh, they had taco bar today. I love tacos.
But we needed to add beans, apparently. Come on, guys, step up the protein.
Yes. Well, they had 2 choices of meat.
But for the non-meat eaters, which there's quite a few,
Yeah. So I had a cheese taco.
that's called a quesadilla.
on a hard corn shell.
Oh.
But I
Handfuls of
still
cheese.
appreciated there was a salad too. I'm like, let me just critique this. So let me continue
I give them
critiquing the
4 stars
orientation.
on their taco bar.
The taco bar could have had some beans in it, but it was hilarious because okay, so there was one gentleman from Houston, and he was giving part of the presentation, and I had a question. I was like, I'm from Houston too, because you always have to say, hey, I'm from Houston, so they know.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, and
I would like to let the record show you're from California. You're just recently by way of Houston.
yeah, well, I was born there and then grew up in
wow.
California.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Anyway, but he did his whole presentation. It was awesome. I loved it. And then at the very end, like as he's ducking out the door, he's like, by the way, there's no good Mexican food here. And then everybody was like, that's not true. And they start shouting out
And
different
he's
like
running away.
restaurants. He left.
And you're writing them down.
I wrote them all down.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I want to add to the list. I want to see your list.
Yeah, so there was a couple I wrote down that I could hear.
That's fine.
But I have heard from other Texas people that there is no good Mexican food here. So I'm gonna have to try it all out and judge.
Make it. That's your cross to bear, Carrie.
Yes. Yes.
I will help you with that mission.
Yes. But the orientation facilitator, I don't even know I forget what her actual job title is, but I'm going to say she was an orientation facilitator.
It sounds really official.
Yeah. She was amazing.
Oh.
She was really super amazing. I really appreciated her.
Cool. She wasn't like, wah, wah, wah.
No,
Charlie
she
Brown
was
teacher.
very engaging, and you could tell she loved her job. She's been doing it for 6 years.
Oh, yeah. I could see getting burnt out on that because I think they do it every 2 weeks.
Well, now they do it every week.
Oh, okay. Every week. Go us. We're exploding.
Yeah.
Or we have a really high turnover rate. Not which one is.
No, I think because of Nampa and everything, they're hiring a lot of
We have a
people.
whole new campus.
There was like over 30 people in there. There's almost 40.
Yeah, mine was bigger than that, but again, it was quite some time ago, and so I think they did things a little differently. But they only did it like every 2 weeks at that point.
Yeah, she said she's doing it every week. But anyway, it was lovely. I had a great time. It was a great introduction to this campus of St. Mungo's. I think it's great.
Fantastic. And it's really pretty right now. You missed
It is.
about a week ago, the blooms and on all the trees were like at their peak. And I was like, oh, I hope Carrie gets here in time.
Well, it looks amazing.
It's still pretty. You just lost some of the white ones because they're now actually turning to leaves. But yeah, it's a very good time. So good job. Not like in the middle of Snowmageddon when you were here for your visit or
No, I was like, I don't know.
You're like, hang in there. This is not typical. Please don't pass judgment. And secretly inside, I was like, I love this winter. Bring it on.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, now that we've rambled.
Yes, now that we've caught everybody up, let's talk about some nursing stuff. I guess that was kind of nursing stuff. It's
That
about
was nursing
orientation.
and hospital orientation.
Yeah.
I think so. And yeah, I mean, people could like, hey, our hospital orientation is great and we had the best taco bar. Or like, no, we didn't get a taco bar. That sucks. I did not get a taco bar, and my lunch orientation my lunch meal, it was not good. Well, it was okay, but I would have rather had a taco bar. So there you go. They've learned something instead
even
of
a bad taco bar is still good.
Yeah, I know, right?
Which I'm not saying it was bad. I'm
any
just
kind
saying
of a buffet
it could.
bar, potato bar, taco bar, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, and they had these delicious looking cookies, which I did not eat.
You didn't bring your sister one either. Rude.
Oh gosh, I need to start thinking about that.
Oh! Did you guys hear that? She forgot about me.
Yeah, I don't think about hoarding food on my first day of work.
You need to change your ways.
Like just shoving stuff in my purse.
Oh, this is for my sister.
Oh my gosh.
Is she homeless?
I am.
You're not homeless. All right, what are we talking about this week, Carrie?
Well, we are gonna worm. We're gonna
do the worm.
We're gonna warm up and kind of get ready for Nurses Week next week.
Kick off.
Yes. So next week is going to be a super special week. We're going to have, I'm not quite sure how many episodes, but we're going to have a bunch of mini pods where
we're having many pods.
Many
as in plural. Mini pods.
Multi-mini pods.
I like that. We have many.
Oh my goodness.
We're not getting anywhere. People are like, and turn it off. Hang in there. We're about to get really smart.
Okay. So before I left Houston, I asked a lot of different people to do little interviews. And so I have a bunch of little mini podcasts.
I'm so excited.
All about Nurses Week. And there's some nurses and at least one student nurse.
Oh, cool.
And it's been a couple weeks. I'll have to
We've had a lot going on. But no, I remember every time I turned around, you were like, oh, I got somebody else.
Yes.
Because you did it over like the space of a week, I want to say, or close.
Yeah, it was like a week. And it was really fun. And I can't wait for next week. We're going to just post some every day, at least one every day. And it's going to be great.
I'm excited. I really am to see how they turned out. Because you gave me like little teasers, but I haven't heard it either, people.
Yes.
So
we have that coming up, and then after that we have a special thing that we're going to be doing after Nurses Week. That's a big tease, but there is going to be a giveaway involved. And it's not Harry Potter related.
Need not be present to buy, or no, need not be present to win.
So this week, since we're kind of leading up to Nurses Week, I wanted to talk about our nursing first. Like, so think back into when you were a nursing student,
You're gonna grill me.
or when you were first orienting to your first nursing job, like your different firsts. And I will start.
I'm like,
I had my first experiences as a nurse going solo, or I really still didn't know what I was doing.
right, that's the scariest phase.
Yeah.
You're like, can I please get some more orientation for like 6 more months?
Yeah. I know. People get that now. I think we talked about that. I had 18 shifts, 18
wow.
8-hour shifts.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's not a lot.
Yeah. And then they released me to the,
The wolves.
wolves. Yeah.
I know.
On med-surg. But, anyway.
And they said your last rites. Espero tu sanctus.
Was the male catheter, uncircumcised, geriatric.
Yes, prostate the size of Texas. Let me guess, it was not an easy cath?
No, it was not easy.
Would you say it was difficult?
If I had to rate it.
I don't know if that's something that because I have almost that exact same story, to totally interrupt yours and run with it. Like, I don't know if they set us up for those things. Like, hey, there's this guy who's due for a chirp next week, but he needs a Foley right now. Go send that new girl in.
Oh my gosh, it was dreadful. It was dreadful.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we both made it through,
obviously.
But I felt terrible, and I just was not prepared.
No, did you have to QA or anything, or did
No.
you even know what that was at that point?
No.
Oh.
I just had to firmly apply.
Oh.
It was just, I can't, it's so embarrassing to even talk about it.
That's awful.
Go ahead and say something else, because I have another related one.
Okay, so mine, along that vein, is we had a gentleman coming in for, oh my goodness, I don't even remember what he was there for surgery. So I was actually a nursing student doing my OR rotations, and he was there for, like, let's say an abdominal surgery. No, he was having a nephrectomy because of cancer.
Mm.
So he was having a nephrectomy, and we were prepping him. Anesthesia had him under, and they were like, "Hey, you want to go put his Foley in?" And they said, "Oh, have you ever done a Foley before?" And I said, "Well, not on a male, but I've done lots of females." And they were like, "Oh, men are so much easier." And I'm like, "Well, I could see why. In theory, it could be a lot easier." So
There's
I was
only
like,
one.
I'm like,
place.
"Yeah, exactly, right? There's only one spot." And so I'm like, "Okay, I got this. No big deal." So I'm doing my thing, and I couldn't get it in, and I couldn't get it in, and I couldn't get it in, and it just wouldn't advance, and you could feel it like coiling,
Yeah. And meanwhile, he's just like breathing.
No, he was under. He was already out.
Oh,
so it was just
goodness.
I just had an OR full of professionals waiting on me.
Yeah.
And so I had exactly. And so I'm like looking at my preceptor, and she's like, "It's okay, don't worry about it, keep going." And so I'm like, "Okay." And so I keep trying, and after seemed like a year, it might have been 5 full minutes, but she finally was like, "Okay," because by then the surgeon had scrubbed in.
Yeah, they're ready to
and
go.
everybody was there standing with their hands like, "What up?" And so she tried, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this should be like the simplest thing in the world. I feel so dumb, and watch, she's gonna get it right in." Did not get it right in. She tried multiple times, couldn't get it in. It eventually took, and this was like ultimate justification. I felt so good as the nursing student, because I was like, I'm the dumbest nursing student ever. And by the end, it took half an hour, a urologist,
Oh, wow.
and 2 minor procedures with major QA tips to get this Foley in this gentleman, who apparently needed some prostate surgery as well, but we were dealing with his cancer at the moment, and so I'm like, this guy's gonna wake up in misery and be like, "What the heck? That is not my kidney!"
Oh man.
So I felt so bad for him when he came out of PACU.
Hopefully they left that in.
The Foley. I'm like, the kidney? No.
No, Foley.
Had cancer. Yes, the Foley. But I mean, no, when he wakes up in PACU and being and all that discomfort, why am I hurting in my groin? And my abdomen. So yeah, that was, but it was kind of nice knowing like it wasn't just me, you know?
Yeah.
Because I thought it was me. So anyway, that's almost always the first thing that comes to mind when I like, oh, bad experiences. All right, your turn. Tag.
Okay, well, I am going to move away from the penis stories
Oh, that's
because
fine with me.
we're always saying we have too many like OB stories. So
Well, we do. Well, there you go. Med search. Boom.
Yeah.
OR.
Yes. My first, speaking of sticking tubes into men, I had
Okay.
I had my first rectal tube. Yeah.
Jinx.
And a physician played a trick on me.
Oh, what?
And I knew he was playing a trick on me. I was 90% sure, but I still did it. I still went along with it because
You weren't sure?
I wasn't 100% sure
Right.
it was a joke. And I kind of just played along like, ha ha ha. But anyway, so it was a quadriplegic.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get bloaty and they need a rectal tube sometimes. And he was like, so he was really, his abdomen is really extended. And I was like, okay, I need to do a rectal tube. And so I asked the physician. He was like, yes. And he's like, okay, go get this N95 mask. And
Like, what are you anticipating? Tuberculosis in his rectum.
He's like, you need to do this, you need to do this. Like, I can't even remember all the stuff he said.
That is funny.
Because I had never done it before.
Right. Well, and a lot of experienced med-surg nurses, because they're just not as common as they are in, like, the ICUs, you just don't do them very often.
So he had me doing all this lame stuff, and he was really funny. He actually, I'll tell you this other part later.
Censor.
He was really funny. I really liked him a lot. But yeah, I was like a big dummy, and I went in there and I put it in, and everything was fine, and the man was very relieved. But it was like one of the worst experiences of my nursing career.
Because why?
Because it's a rectal tube.
Oh, okay. Well, I just figured that went without saying. But
I was not prepared again for that either.
Oh,
I was like,
okay.
wow.
So they just sent you in there on your own
Oh, yeah.
to place your very first rectal tube.
Yeah.
Had you ever worked with one before?
No.
Oh, geez. That's great practice. Didn't say that. No, yes, I did. That's horrible practice.
But, I didn't hurt him in any way.
You did not damage anything.
I only relieved his pressure, and that was good.
So the joke wasn't that he needed a rectal tube. The joke was the N95 and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt.
It didn't help.
No. You have to put peppermint oil on your lip or something to help with that.
Oh, gosh.
No, let's see. My first mistake that I remember, whoops. I had a patient on there's a lot of med-surg because that's where a lot of people get their beginnings. But I was on med-surg. Okay, where I had gone to school, they were still on paper Mars, and just it was different than where I was initially hired, where everything was, well, not everything, but our MR and everything was electronic. And so I had been trained that, to my little tiny baby nursing brain, that IV fluids, you just kept it going. When one bag ran out, you just hung the next, and you just kept it going.
Ooh, that's no bueno.
Right. And obviously, even on a paper MAR, there's going to be something that says, times 3 or continuous, it'll specify one or the other. But I was naive. And so I had a patient who was on oh gosh, I don't even remember. I think it was it might have even just been an NS. But anyways, so the bag ran out, and I was still in my precepting phase, or being precepted, so my orientation phase. The bag ran out, and so I was like, oh, I got it. And I went in there, and I just hung another one. I didn't scan it. I didn't anything, because I was just in autopilot. And in my little brain, I was like, okay, I got this. I know how to do this. This is one thing I can do by myself. And I went and hung a bag, and then his internal medicine doc came around. She, I don't even recall. The patient's internal medicine doc came around later that date around and was looking at his eyes and nose and was like, why is that bag of fluid still running? It should have been done this morning. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did. And so I just hung another one. And I got my ever-loving butt chewed at the nurse's station. Like the main nurse's station / where everybody comes off the elevator on the floor and like Med Central. Like you couldn't have had more people around. I mean, we couldn't, unless we'd like stop and like, hey, can everybody come here for a minute? Like, Erin needs to get your butt chewed.
Oh man.
And he handed it to me on a silver platter. Like, we're watching this patient's sodium levels and we're worried about hyponatremia and we've been running blah, 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 and isotonic and hypertonic. And my little brain was like, pow, pow, pow.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I totally screwed up. Unfortunately, the patient was absolutely fine. And we did some labs and everything was fine, totally fine. But it was a huge, I mean, it probably could have been handled a little differently.
Well, yeah.
But I continued to work with that physician for years and is a phenomenal physician. And they were right. I messed up and it potentially could have been a really bad thing. Something as harmless in my little mind as a bag of saline and just maintenance fluids, could have totally, somebody who's there with sodium issues, we could have driven it up, we could have dropped it down, depending on what we're running. And he's got a whole extra liter on board now. And so it was a huge, huge lesson for me. And I guess I'm glad if I had a med error at the start of my career, it was that one, because it left a major impression on me. And I wasn't intentionally being negligent. I wasn't like, I checked, I made sure I was hanging the same thing. I didn't just like grab something out of the stock room.
Just like, eeny, miny, moe.
Let's go for some dextrose. But, I didn't even kind of realize that I had skipped like half of the 6 rites of medication administration and how detrimental that could have been. Something as, quote, simple as IV fluid, and so that's something I learned a valuable lesson from, and I certainly didn't enjoy getting bawled at, but I was wrong. I was totally wrong, and it could have easily gone the other way, and so I'm grateful, of course, that it didn't, but it was a lesson that I think maybe has made me pay a little more attention to my med administrations, because I knew I had had a close call, just from sheer stupidity and ignorance at the beginning, So, yeah, that was not fun. It was not my best day on the job, and I certainly didn't enjoy it. But, I left with my tail between my legs a little bit, but that's okay because I learned from it. So
that's a good one.
And I've never hung the wrong IV fluid on anybody. Not that was the wrong one. I just should have stopped it. So that makes it wrong. Anyway.
Oh gosh, I had one in my head. Oh, okay. So speaking of IV fluids, I think I was a nurse at this point. This is even more embarrassing that I wasn't a student. I was actually a registered nurse. I had passed the NCLEX in 75 questions.
Yes, right? And you're like high-fiving yourself.
And then I did the dumbest thing ever.
It happens.
It's so embarrassing, but
because that story wasn't embarrassing at all.
This one's worse. Okay, to me.
Ooh, okay, bring it on.
So I went to the supply room to get IV fluid because back then it was just like on a big cart.
Right.
It wasn't in a Omnicell or whatever. Right. And so I grabbed some fluids and I'm like, oh, these fluids are bad. There's water in the package. Like the overwrap between the fluid. Yeah. That doesn't matter. I threw it away. I got another one.
How many times?
2. And I was like seeing a pattern. I looked at them all. I'm
and
like,
oh.
They all have that. I mean, not all of them, but
a lot of them.
It's normal.
They're wet and smelly.
Condensation in there because it's air in different temperatures and physics.
That's not bad. That's it.
That's stupid. That is totally lame. It didn't involve a patient, but...
No, see, I think mine was way worse. Because if you pick up like an autoclave pack and there's moisture in there, you'd be like, well, we're not using that.
Well, that's different.
But this is supposed to be a sterile fluid. I'm just saying, for somebody who's new, I could see, I don't think it's that bad. You were trying to be like hypervigilant. And so at least you weren't the other way. Like, it was on the floor under the nurse's desk. So I just thought,
that's all right.
We want to save revenue. I know. The 5-second rule. Use on alcohol. Scrub the hub.
I don't know. Do you have another one? I have another one.
Sure I do. Go for it.
So after I went to med-surg, I went to mother baby after like a little bit over a year. I only was in med-surg for like a little over a year. Anyway, I went to mother baby, and at this point I had 3 children. Okay. I went over there. Mother baby was, to me, the mother baby unit that I went to compared to the med-surg unit was like
the Holy Land.
It was so easy.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. And I thought, I got this. I've had 3 kids. I've breastfed them all.
I'm pro.
Yeah. Like, I've done med-surg and survived that.
Right.
And then
I got my Purple Heart.
I know I could put a rectal tube in somebody. I'm good. Anyway, so I was changing a diaper of like a day-old baby. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the umbilical stump because you're supposed to.
Right.
And it had a black spot on it, and I freaked out. And I went because I did get like 3 days of orientation over there.
Oh, there you go. That's crazy.
But again, I had it.
Yeah, she got this, people. She's got this. All you postpartum nurses out there, be offended. Start writing letters.
I know. It was more complicated than I thought. This is the point of the story. And so,
So you saw this black spot and thought there was like necrotizing fasciitis.
Yes,
on this
I
baby's
did.
cord.
I was like, what is going on with this? And I had totally blanked out because I think when you're a mother of a newborn, you are just sleep deprived. You're not
fuzzy.
Paying attention
to how.
I mean, even though I know the umbilical stump like turns black and falls off because it had happened to my child, 3 different children. It looks really different in the very beginning stage. And I went to the preceptor who had been a nurse, and she was like,
"Oh no,
wonderful dear."
Oh, good.
She handled it so nicely.
Aww.
And she didn't make me feel stupid. I made myself feel stupid. But she'd been a nurse for like 20 plus years, and probably most of it on mother baby. And she's like, explained it. I was like, oh, duh. I'm such a
and I can see you like, we need to isolate this room. I need to get cultures.
I know. If I freak out about
quick, check a temp.
Fluid in the IV bag.
Oh my gosh. You were just really, like I said, vigilant. It's better than being, it's better than being that lax, brand new nurse or worse, like student nurse who already knows everything. And I'm like, you're going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Like, just wait. Clock's ticking. Because either you're going to get humbled or you're going to kill somebody because they are just, when they're so unteachable. So I'd rather those little silly stories than it's just scary sometimes. You're talking to them when you're trying to precept and you're like, I'm just not getting through.
I know. Well, do you have another one? Because I have another one.
I do, but yours are so benign that I'm kind of feeling like an idiot over here.
Well, no, this one's not that benign.
Okay.
So I'm a big advocate for like civility and everything, but I actually yelled at somebody once.
What?
Yeah.
Like full on, huh?
Well, I didn't berate them or anything, but
at the main nurse's station in front of 10 people?
No, it was in the hallway. There was no one else around, but I yelled at a nurse, but not like bawled her out. I just was like, what are you thinking? Which was totally not cool, but I was like shocked. So
what was she doing?
She was a CNA
Cutting
that was
nail
going
wire?
to nursing school.
Okay.
So
she was
wasn't licensed yet, but she was a CNA. And so it was my patient, and the IV pump was going off, and she silenced it and left. It was going off because it was occluded.
Okay.
And the IV infiltrated. And by the time I got in there, because she didn't tell me either, I got in there and her whole arm was swollen.
Oh. So it wasn't paused. She just
silenced it.
So it's still running at
Yeah.
Well, okay, hold on. What pumps do you have? Because my pumps, they won't run if there's occlusion. It pauses. It doesn't even go at TKO. But yours apparently did.
Yeah.
Oh, stinky.
I don't know. She pushed start or something. I don't know.
So either way, it was still infusing.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so it was really bad. I was like, what are you thinking? Why did you do that? I was just like,
and she's probably like, I guess I'm dumb. I don't know.
Like, first of all, you're not allowed to touch pump.
Right, there's a reason.
But anyway, that's the only time I've ever really lost my cool.
There you go.
But that was the first time.
Does it count like in the break room?
No.
Okay, because I was like, because I think that's just normal, right? I mean, not like at somebody, but like, just in general venting.
No, venting is totally separate.
Okay.
This was like, this person knew I was not happy.
Gotcha.
And I should have handled it better.
It's one of those moments where you're like, Mama!
I know. I might have said some other stuff.
Oh, jeez. You blankety blank.
No. Some other stuff like, you're in nursing school.
You should know better.
Which isn't fair.
Well, and I think that's a hard place to be, especially because when they work the floor, in the place that they do their clinicals, because I've had that situation a lot of times with CNAs that I work with. And we do try to give them a little more like continuing education when they're there on their work shifts because, we're helping our little buddies out.
Yeah.
But it's hard because when they're there as a student nurse, legally they can do things that they can't do the next day when they come back for their CNA shift. And so I think that probably is a hard line to walk. But regardless, that was not a good move. But maybe she's doing a podcast right now talking about how she learned not to do that because the lady almost lost her arm with phlebitis.
Wasn't that bad?
So, at least tell me it was like LR saline or something.
Oh, I don't even know. It's probably vancomycin.
I was just going to say, is it Vanco?
No, it may have been.
Oh,
I don't know. Because when you're postpartum, why else do you don't get a lot of fluid postpartum.
Oh, true.
So I don't know.
It was like pit. I mean,
usually
they could have been a choreo patient, yeah.
No, that seems like a reason why I'd be even more mad.
Right, because it's not just LR going in the vein.
I think it was vancomycin.
Oh, bugger.
Oh, man.
Well, okay, back to nursing school. I was in my ER rotations, and it wasn't my first IV, but it was one of the first I was probably doing solo. And I was in the ER, and the patient was there for something fairly, benign, which is probably why they trusted me to go get a peripheral in this lady. And she's laying back on the gurney, and silly me, I'm like on the stool next to her, so she's got her arm like dependent hanging off the gurney. And so I get right in, and I'm like, I'm so awesome. And then I flush it, and it's good. It's beautiful. There's like, stars dancing around it. And then I go to like occlude the vein and disconnect my flush so I can hook up her tubing and secure it and all that jazz. And she's just chattering away, really nice lady, but she was rather fluffy. And so for the life of me, I could not get that vein to occlude. And so she just started spilling blood. And I'm trying, she can't notice because I don't know if she didn't realize she was wet on her arm, but she's still just laying there. She's not watching. So she's just laying there, just talking. And I'm like, and I'm trying to carry on a conversation with her. And it's dripping down my scrub pants onto my shoe.
Oh my goodness.
Making a puddle on the floor. I mean, okay, she wasn't bleeding out. If I had to estimate her EBL. But I was inside, I'm I can't even reach the call light right now because, oh my gosh, her arm, and she's bleeding all over. I didn't think about just raise that arm on up,
Physics again.
I know.
Physics.
I know.
Physics is the key to nursing.
I know. I had no idea about that trick at this point. So I'm fumbling because I'm oh my gosh, how much blood is she going to lose? And I'm sure it was
Did she have a tourniquet on still?
Yeah, of course. I'm panicking. And so I'm and then everything's slippery and messy. And I'm thinking well, I'm definitely going to have to change my pants. I'm going to have to walk out of this ER, bay covered in the, and I'm everyone's going to know as soon
why
as
do they say the nursing students the trauma?
Exactly. No, they're going to walk out and be there's no way I can hide this. I mean, so then I was dang it. And sure, so I got it and it was fine and we got it all cleaned up and she was still fairly oblivious to she was completely unconcerned. She was oh, thank you, and just went on about her day. But I was like, in my mind, and it was probably over like a 20-second period, but in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I kept like trying to push and find the end of like, you know, where the catheter goes in to find like the vein. And I'm like, maybe I'm just in the wrong spot. And I'm like, no, she was just really fluffy and I couldn't put enough pressure on it to like occlude the vein. But
Okay, but did you lose it, the IV?
no, I kept the IV. It was golden.
Did you hear that? That was a high five because we're together.
Live and in person. Well, not for you, but it is for us.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, I kept it. The line went fine. It was great. It was a beautiful vein. It was a little messy of a line, but we got that all cleaned up and it was fine. But and I then learned about gravity.
Yeah.
And that you can just raise that stupid arm and you would have been just fine instead of like it's going 45 degrees down to the floor. So I'm surprised. I was probably panicking the more and I probably kept dropping it further and
oh yeah, and plus you don't want her to see, so you're like, let's just move that out
I know.
of your vision.
I know, and I'm like, don't worry, I got this. Pay no attention to the wizard behind the curtain. I like dashed out of the room, went to get a pair of scrubs.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, there goes another nursing student.
Well, that reminded me of my like first time that I got an IV on a PD.
Oh yes, talk about nerve wracking.
So, okay, this is like a great story.
You have to show me up, don't you?
Okay, I was not a nursing student.
Okay.
I was a labor nurse by then, but I had gone to peds for a few years, like intermittently, at least like usually like once a week. So my ped skills were not that bad or good. They were just kind of
mediocre.
But I didn't really ever do IVs because they gave me like pretty stable patients,
Right.
and I was really good. I used to be good. Now I'm just crud. I never do IVs because I'm one of those nurses.
Fancy pants.
But I used to be really good, and people would, say, "Hey, do the."
Right. You were the one.
Give me help and whatever. And so there was a baby. I think it was a 1 or 2 year old. It was just like a big fluffy, cute.
Oh yeah, when
baby.
you got that chubby fat head.
Yes, and it was down the ER, and they couldn't get the IV.
Yep. So they called the peds nurse.
And I was the only one that really could go. And I was like, I got this. I got this. I didn't get it. Like, I didn't really, I looked like I got it, but inside I was like, oh my gosh. These IVs are so short.
I know.
They're so little.
They're
The
so
catheters.
teensy.
I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I had been checked off, but this is the first time I ever had done it by myself. So I went down to the ER with all those cool ER nurses.
Yeah, you gotta act like you own it.
And I was
Because they
just
will
like-
beat you up.
Yeah, I was like, I need this, thank you, ma'am. And then I got it, and doing an IV on a PD in the ER.
There's so much
when
pressure.
The parent is standing there holding the baby,
And she's already been poked.
yes, and it was really, really hard, and I got it, and I just acted like, yeah.
Like, of course.
Of course
Yeah.
I got it, but inside I'm like, I got that! I can't believe the luck! I can't believe that the IV's running! I can't believe it! I even got a blood draw! Like,
Nice!
I was like, this is a miracle.
Yeah. Like, hallelujah. That's awesome. I was the same way when I got my first solo pediatric IV. I think it was like a little 2-weeker that was in for RSV, and I was like, like shaky hand, and I was sweating buckets, and we were just like, and of course,
was the parent there?
yeah, they were, and it was an isolation patient because it was. If you have a 2-weeker in peds, there's always on isolation for something. So, of course, you've got all your isolation gear and your mask on top of everything else. And I sweat. I get hot and flushed when I'm, nervous. And so I was just like, oh, my gosh, my gloves are going to start, dripping sweat here in a minute. And I remember I got it in. I think I got a foot. And I was like, inside, I'm like, chest bumping myself and high-fiving myself. And on the outside, I'm like, can I have a 2x2, please? But I went home and I was like, I got an IV. I mean, I'd done tons of IVs in my career.
It's different, though.
Oh, my gosh, a pediatric is totally different. You think their skin would be like butter because it's all cute new skin. Nope, it's like friggin' leather.
Their veins are like
They are tough.
tears.
They are tough.
They're so small.
I know, but I will say, so I felt like the coolest nurse on the planet at that moment in time. And I'm like, my blood draws and my little microtainers.
They're so little.
They're so cute. I'm like, can I do this for every patient? But yeah, I felt so good. But yeah, oh my gosh, after pediatrics, my adult IV skills, whew, man, I'm like so much better than I used to be. I'm like, I'm getting some things. I got this. You guys get out of the way. It's like 5 times the size of the vein I'm used to.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I felt so amazing that first one. I was like, yes. Because you just feel like a failure. And when it's a baby or a child, it's so much worse.
It's so much pressure.
It is. I mean, I'd almost rather do a tiny, like a little neonate because... you're not having to like lay on them.
Yeah.
The toddlers and the older kids, like up to like 2 to 5, they're so, like even 2 to 4, they're so hard because you can't quite reason with them, and they're so scared, and it really freaks the parents out, and even the best parents, it's just so hard on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those ones, those are tough, and they're strong. They're strong little buggers at that age.
Yeah.
So I know I always feel bad with those little ones. But yeah, I was walking on the clouds for the rest of the day. I'm like, I can do anything. But I don't want to. Let's keep it simple. Alrighty.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
that was a good note.
That was a good
I
one.
redeemed myself there.
So in those 2 stories, we were like dancing on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I like to dance.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Like nobody's watching.
Well, when I was first a labor nurse, I had never, like, I could put in FSCs, but I had never put in IUPC. So it's an intrauterine pressure catheter.
Mm-hmm.
And an FSC technically should be harder because you actually have to, like,
what's an FSC, Carrie?
fetal scalp electrode.
Okay.
So that measures the baby's heart rate. And it has like a little corkscrew looking thing on the end of this wire. Yeah, and the FSC you like screw into the baby's scalp.
Not like a lot.
Just the skin.
It's just like, you know, when you like would do the needle under your skin on your fingertips when you were a kid.
So that seems like it would be harder than IUPC, which is just like a tube that you put in like next to the baby,
like
whether in the uterus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But for me, for some reason, it was super hard. And I think I was scared just to puncture the placenta because I had heard all the horror stories.
Oh, jeez.
And so anyway, the first time I did it and I was successful and it like all synced up and it was like reading the contractions.
And you're like, yes.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm in the, we're going to let this pit run and I'll be back in like 15 minutes. I'm just going to go out, step out for a minute. And I stepped right out the door and I was like happy dancing in the hallway because no one was watching. I was happy dancing. And then Dr. Green turns around the corner and he's like,
he sees you happy dancing.
Like, Carrie, what are you doing? And I was like, totally not embarrassed. I'm like, I just got my first IUPC. Again, no one was with me.
Oh my gosh. I don't want to ask where you were. I'll ask off air. Good heavens, up your standard of practice, people.
I was checked off,
okay.
but I had just never successfully done it by myself. But
here's a YouTube video.
But anyway, it was so funny because he was just like, well, great job. And I can't remember if he hugged me or gave me a high five.
Oh, that's awesome.
But he was just like, that's great. He was the best physician.
That's
he was
awesome.
So nice. He was super, super tall. And I'm not really short, but compared to him, I was like short. And he would always like pat me on the head, which is like super condescending, except I didn't take it like that. It wasn't. But some people might have taken it that. But he's just like, oh, you just pat me on the head.
Like, you cute little thing.
I know.
It's like when people call you like sweetie or dear. Like, it's not always condescending.
I know. Anyway, I totally loved him.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Anyway.
I dance all the time and I don't care if anybody's watching. I'm dancing at the nurse's station. I'm singing down the halls.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah, I think we had enough first. And so I just want to briefly promote our upcoming things that we're having. So
yes,
again,
lots coming up.
Nurses Week is a special week. We're going to have our regular podcast and we're going to talk about Nurses Week. We're going to talk about some Nurses Week topics, but then we have our mini pods. And then we have 2 special series coming up. The first one, we're going to dive in and talk about ACOG's new position statement. I'm not going to get into it now because I will just keep going and going and going. We got to save it. But it's like super awesome stuff that even if you're not in women's health, it's super good to know because you know somebody that's going to have a baby.
Exactly.
So it's interventions and new standards of nursing practice and medical practice. So it's super awesome. And we're going to do that over like a few weeks. And then after that, I'm really excited about...
She is really gesturing with her hands right now.
I really am. We need to make I think that some of those episodes we're going to like do videos, but I'm not sure which ones. But
video podcasts, yeah.
I am really excited.
You can see her excitement.
I am super excited about, we're going to do one about, especially for student nurses that are graduating or people that just want a new job.
Yeah.
Like a whole bunch of tips and advice about how to go about it from the very beginning of thinking about a job all the way to like
getting
the first
hired.
week of being on your job.
Yep, on your actual employment and everything in between.
Everything in between. And so it's really good stuff. And it's from our perspective of having worked at several different places, having both been hiring managers and interviewing people.
And we're not homeless and unemployed at this point in our lives, so somehow we're doing something right.
Yes.
Maybe we're just flying under the radar.
So I'm really excited about that. So in the meantime, we need questions. So send us your questions.
Wait, what do we want questions on? We want questions. Good question, Erin. We want questions on everything. Any little topic that comes to your mind, whether it's something we've done a podcast on or not, because we always want ideas for the future, or of course responses to topics we've discussed, whether it's like, oh my goodness, you thought that was a horrible Foley catheter experience? Well, here's mine,
Yeah.
We want to hear it. We want to, any comments, questions, we would love it. And we will, a lot of times we will just talk about you and tag you actually in our podcast, and we will put your name out there if you're cool with that on our Instagram and Facebook, and so it's kind of fun to like, oh, they picked me. But so give us your questions, give us your comments. If there's anything you want to hear about in those upcoming little mini segments that we're doing with the ACOG recommendations or the job skills, let us know. Like if you have this burning, like I feel like I'm always doing something wrong in my interview. What is it? Yeah, let us know. So then we can try to work that in. So yes, please do.
And thank you for going on to SoundCloud. We have a couple of people on SoundCloud that always comment, and I love it. I love that interaction on SoundCloud. And now that we're back on iTunes, please go to iTunes and rate us. If you happen to think we're a 5,
we wouldn't be offended.
Yes, just it's okay. Just like your hospital survey.
Yes.
It's the reimbursement rate is better if you get a really good survey.
More people deserve to hear Erin and Carrie. They need their lives enriched by us, so we gotta be more popular.
That's right. So yes, that would be really grateful. I'd be grateful for that. Thank you.
But thanks for all the feedback we've gotten. I know quite a few people were excited that we're back on iTunes, so that made us feel good that people actually cared.
Yes.
So thanks for that. But yes, still on SoundCloud, still on YouTube. Definitely, there's always links on our Instagram and Facebook page as well as, of course, our statsisters.com website. So, and email and everything else. So, pick one. We don't really care, but pick one because we'll check them all.
Yes.
All right. So, nurses in the news?
Nurses in the
Shall we?
news. Let's do it.
Nurses in the news this week is, I want to say it was from January of this year. Carrie's having trouble with the link, but there was a gentleman who is a CNA who was on his way to work and came across a car accident that had occurred. And there was a gentleman and I know there was a gentleman and a pregnant woman, and I want to say maybe another child in the back, but regardless, the woman was unresponsive and people were out, and I think the driver of the car was like, we need help. And this CNA on his way to work stopped at the scene and started performing CPR on this woman. And there's actually, we'll put the link on our Stat Sisters website, because there's actually a bystander was videoing this on their phone apparently, and he was so like unassuming, and he just got in there and he was like, I do this, I know what I'm supposed to do, and he just got right in there and did his job, did CPR, was able to revive the mother, and everybody ended up being fine. And he just then like, okay, I gotta go to work, and he just like left and went and did his job for the rest of the day. And so people wanted to give him some recognition and credit for what he did. And he's like, well, it's just what I do. Like, that's literally my job. And so it was just really sweet, his whole demeanor about the whole thing, because he was like, oh, shucks, you know. Yeah, I saved some pregnant lady and her unborn child. No big deal, you know. And of course, to them, it was a very big deal.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I think it ended up that the woman was actually a drug user and unavailable and was unresponsive, I believe, because of that, and not the actual anything to do with the car.
Oh.
And was unavailable for like any kind of follow-up or comment. But according to the official report from law enforcement in the hospital, mom and baby both, survived due to the efforts of this gentleman. And so that's still
good.
exciting.
He gave her time to turn her life around.
Well, exactly. And to give that baby an opportunity. And, we can't judge. It's unfortunate. But, what an amazing chance for him to be able to just be in the right place. As many non-medical personnel who are trained, in the community, people are still very afraid to, even if they've had CPR and, if they've never had to do it, which who does,
right.
It's very scary. And there was there was people there, but he just jumped right in and just started doing his thing and kind of like running the code almost. It's really neat to watch. So I just wanted to give him a kudos. And
kudos, good job.
I know, right?
We'll find out his name. We'll put it on there. Did I tell you about the accident I saw when I was coming?
No.
So when I was driving to Idaho, I think I was in Texas still. I was in Texas for a long time.
Yes. And
there was a rollover accident, and I had just come up right after it happened. I did not witness it. And this lady it was a teenager, I think, and she was upside down in her car, and the whole top was squished.
Right.
And I stopped, and because the paramedics or anything, no one was there yet, and so I stopped because I felt like I should.
Yeah.
And it was really crazy. There were so many people crowding around, but nobody like helping.
Right. I think because they're just afraid, they don't know what to do.
Yeah, and there was a couple of nurses there too. They're like, I'm a nurse, and she crawled out of her car because we weren't going to move her.
Right.
And then, but she was able to crawl out herself, and the whole time, like from the time I stopped to the time like I went and like because I was traveling, so I had my stethoscope in the car. So I got my stethoscope, and I was like, gosh, please be breathing. Please don't have anything wrong.
A collapsed lung.
Like, I was like, oh my gosh, because what if you do? What am I going to do?
It's a terrifying feeling when you're assessing a patient, knowing you don't have, like, I'm only as good as my skills and my knowledge and my equipment.
Yes.
If I don't have suction, I don't have bagging mask, I don't have what I need, IV fluids and lines and material. It's scary because my knowledge, I know what to do, hopefully, potentially, but not actually being able to do that task. It's a scary feeling. Because I've been first on the scene on a couple accidents actually. One just last year or a couple years ago, maybe two at this point, coming home from a shift, and so I was like in my scrubs and everything, and the gentleman drove off the road into a guardrail and was like hanging over an irrigation canal.
Oh my goodness.
And so he was, other than inebriated, luckily he was quite bouncy, so he did fine.
That happens.
But before I took when I took my first job in the Boise area, I was commuting back and forth across the state multiple times, and I was pregnant, and it was in the winter, and so I saw many rollovers just from the snowy conditions and stuff, and so there was quite a few, and I feel obligated to stop and, you know, as a trained medical personnel to stop, if EMS is there, I'm not getting in their way.
As soon as EMS showed up, I was like,
yeah, I'm gone.
I got the car and I
But,
left.
you know, if I'm driving by rollovers where I can see people and nobody's there yet, I feel definitely morally obligated to stop. And so I do. And I've stopped probably half a dozen times. But it's always like that feeling like, please let everything be okay. Because if not, what can I do?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, other than CPR, you can't do anything.
Yeah, I can maybe like apply pressure.
Yeah.
You know, I can do CPR. I can maybe try to clear an airway. I don't know. There's not a lot, you know.
Yeah.
But so kudos to you too. But yeah, for those first responders, I just need to like drive an ambulance around, but I don't want that either.
No, I'm not taking that on.
No, but thank you to all of our paramedics and EMTs out there.
It just surprised me how many people stopped.
Yes.
But how many people just were, I mean, they just stopped, but then they were just like staring.
They're
I'm
just
like
panicking, yeah.
I couldn't even get to her. I'm like, y'all need to move back.
Right.
Let her breathe, and I'm going to listen to her lungs and pray that I hear something good, which I did, but, and then I just try to keep her to not move until the paramedics got there. That's all I could do. And thankfully, I didn't have to, because I didn't have a pocket mask or anything.
Yeah, right. I know. You're like, I should have saved that for my last PALS course. I know. I was like putting that on my Amazon list. Pocket mask, must get one.
But I had a plan because I had just seen Call the Midwife.
Well, there you go.
And back then they didn't have masks.
Right, of course.
And she used a cloth.
That's better than nothing.
Yeah, and I was like...
It at least is like somewhat of a filter for fluid.
Yeah, like if it would block the vomit or something.
Yeah, I mean,
that's my number one concern. And so I was like, I'm going to totally do that. And so now that's in my head. If anything, I can always take off my shirt.
Right, and just do that.
Yeah.
Or a sock or something.
A sock.
No, but like you're saying, you know, there's so many people who do tend to gather. And so just like, you know, the situation with Keith, our little hero on his way to work, there was, I mean, not a gaggle of people, but there was, from what I remember, like 3 or 4 other individuals, at least that I could just see in, camera shots. So I'm sure there was more than that. And that's fairly common. And I think people are afraid. They don't know what to do. They're curious, you know, and there's a whole barrage. But I remember one time, again, I was in nursing school and I was home and I had just finished working in my garden and I was walking around the side of my house to come in my house. I lived on a fairly busy street, kind of down by the university. And a car accident happened like 2 houses down. There was... a teenage girl was driving down the street and she was on her phone, and another car had stopped at a cross street and was going across, and obviously they did not see one another, and she completely like T-boned him. And so I heard the crash and the glass, and I just took off running, and I called over my shoulder to my husband and I'm like, call the paramedics. And because I couldn't see the crash because of some trees in my driveway, but it was literally like the next house down. And so I went running towards the accident, and I'm like, as I'm running, I'm praying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, please let everything be fine. And the first 2 things I see was this teenage girl come like peeling out of her like steaming, smoking car. And she's in complete panic. I mean, she must have been like 16, 17 years old. And she is freaking out. And she's crying and hysterical and sobbing and trying to breathe. And so that's really hard to try to assess somebody. So I'm like trying to visually check her as I'm like running up to her to see like, do I need to lay her down and stabilize her neck? Like what's going on? And airbags had gone off. And so then I'm looking at her, and at the same time I then look at the other vehicle and I'm like yelling to the driver, like, are you guys okay? Is everybody fine? And her passenger was like a 9-month pregnant woman.
Oh my gosh.
And she had a couple kids in the back seat, like littles. And she's like, I'm okay, but she's having contractions. And I'm like she hadn't been before the accident. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And within a matter of like 30 seconds, I swear, so I addressed the young gal first, the teenager, and was trying to calm her down and stabilize just her psyche because I didn't want her like running out into traffic. There was probably 20 to 30 people who were there within like the first minute, and they're just lining up on the street and they're just watching, and I'm literally the only person in the middle of the street.
It's weird.
In the accident, doing anything. And I wanted to, because I hadn't even heard my husband's confirmation that he heard me yell, call for 911. And so finally, like, they're just standing there, and finally I had to point, like in our CPR videos, I had to be like, I need you to call 911 right now and make sure they're actually on their way, and let them know that we've got multiple people here that have been affected. And they were like, okay, they were like glad to have like a little job. Unfortunately, my husband did call, and they were already dispatched, and then they showed up, and I thought I was one of the victims. I'm like, no, I'm just a neighbor. I'm fine. I'm like, don't, like, leave me alone. Keep going. But anyways, so everybody ended up being okay. Mom went to go get checked out, but fortunately, I had no idea if she delivered, but at least she was term. That's what I told myself, and she wasn't like bleeding, obviously, but I was like, oh my gosh, please let this baby be okay. But yeah, it was terrifying, and I'm this nursing student. I'm like, I don't know hardly anything, but I can't just like stand here. And so many people were just standing around and just didn't, know what to do. I'm like, isn't there an Eagle Scout around? Like, come on! I guess don't be afraid to jump in. Your little bit of knowledge might be better than just standing there, Anyway, that was a tangent.
That went off the rails.
Went off the rails. Good job, Keith.
Yay, go Keith. Good job. Okay, well,
I think we've talked quite a bit, so it's good to be back. It's good to hear from everybody. I'm anticipating that we're going to hear from everybody. But
yes.
The feedback we've been getting and comments while we've been on our little hiatus so Carrie could move has all been really positive, and we're really excited. Everybody's been super supportive, so
thank you.
Yeah, we're excited to be at this new point where we can podcast together instead of across the United States.
Yes.
Or at least a good chunk of it.
Yes.
So thanks for hanging in. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right, bye.